direct conversation, some deep reactions, please. All this comics narration ain't late me. A little more talk, a lot less read. A little fight, baby, is what I need. Close the trade, open up your brains. Explain it to me. Explain it to me, baby. Explain it to me.
Thank you, Vandello. And as a note, congratulations, Vandello, on the release of your new EP, available on Spotify. And I only go to Spotify. I'm imagining that it's available everywhere. But it is called Unladylike Behavior. The first track is a fucking banger. Yeah, just congratulations to them. Obviously, they do the theme music for both Graphically Novel and Rec Conversations, and we love them.
Yay!
Yeah. So while Leia's in Chicago and not able to make it, Bear, Jen, and I will be at the release party tonight, and possibly our guest, if he wants to join us, since we have the extra ticket. But before that, she is not your senorita. She is not from your tribe. If you want inside her well, boy, you better make a raspberry swirl. It's Leia Cameron.
Yes, the most bisexual Warhammer quote possible. How is everybody doing?
Yeah, it sure is.
I would also like to point out too that the reason that I can't join the Vandello release party this weekend is not because I don't want to be there, because I would like to see this band live for the first time that does our theme songs. I think they're wonderful. But the reason that I can't go is because I have 2 podcast recordings this weekend.
Yeah, not like she could have done them from wherever she would have stayed here in Cedar Rapids.
Only there was a remote option to podcast.
If only.
We determined that I would have been traveling to Iowa during this podcast recording and then returning during tomorrow's, because I have a family obligation in the afternoon. So,
yeah, that's right. That's true.
So it would have been a very windy sort of, on road, choppy audio.
Which I've done before. I did that with Jen once. She was on the road, and yeah, it does not turn out well. The sound quality is not great.
Somebody honking, what are you doing?
Occasionally you swear at another driver, right? Yeah.
And with us, as you can hear his voice, local comedian, good friend of mine, Mr. Josh Staley is here. Mr. Staley, good to see you, man.
Thanks for having me, buddy. It's good to see you.
Absolutely. And, man, we've had you on once for Graphically Novel, if I remember right, but we haven't. Twice. That's right.
We did Venom with Forbes. And
Forbes. Yeah.
We also did, the Dark Phoenix. I'm like, what was it? Was like,
oh, yeah. Yeah, that's the one where I've watched the newer Dark Phoenix movie upwards of almost 10 times, and I can't tell you a single thing that happens in that movie. It's like Teflon for my brain.
Yeah, I saw it too. And when, now you mention it, yeah, what does happen in that film? I don't know.
Yeah.
Serious lack of attire as mirrored in the comics as well, which I don't think we spend enough time talking about the costuming in the actual comic as opposed to the movie itself.
Yeah.
Man, I remember more about New Mutants than I do about that film.
Yeah, no, and in fact, I think I've watched Dark Phoenix more than I watched New Mutants, but only because every time I think about Dark Phoenix, I'm like, I don't know what happens in that movie. I should watch it again. And then I watch it, and an hour later, I'm like, I have no idea what happened in that movie.
It's the white race of films. I'm hungry again.
I fell asleep twice watching it before we did that actual podcast.
Yeah. I think in that podcast, we also just basically told people go and watch the 90s animated series if you really want to understand the Dark Phoenix, because it was probably the best.
Oh, yeah.
And so today we will be taking Josh through Nightwing. So I fucking love this series, and I am not usually a DC guy. I randomly, somebody who I trust, who I cannot remember who amongst the people I trust, told me to read this, and it just blew me away. I love this series.
Oh, it's delightful. It is delightful.
Yeah.
I was so pleasantly surprised the minute from like page 2.
Yeah.
I was like, yes, all right.
We are all down for this. So we will. There is a little background that I need to establish, because there's some things that you need to know that happen in Batman continuity. But before we do that, if this is the first time that you are listening to Rec Conversations, this is how the show will go. It is the job of me, the professor that is giving the lecture, Professor J, to go through Nightwing, kind of describe it step by step. I'm not going to get deep into things like combat, scenes or things like that, unless it's like specifically important to the story. There are definitely things that I will leave out, but I'm going to give Josh a really good idea of kind of what this comic is, with the intention that maybe he wants to pick up this comic and read it. There are several graphic novels after this. This is just the beginning of this storyline. If he has any questions, he can pull the emergency brake on the entire show, ask any question, make any comment he wants, and then it is the job of the assisting professor, Professor L, to answer that question. If she doesn't know, she can throw it back to me. And if I don't know at that point, the Baroness Miss Jennifer Howland is not here. She's actually going to breakfast with Bear. So we just put up our hands, wiggle our fingers, and go, comic books. Sound good?
Magic. For those that can't see the podcast, Wast is taking his professorship very seriously. He's got a tweed jacket with leather elbow patches. He's sitting in a chair. It's very weird.
It's true. I actually, since I was an English major, not using that, but my degree's in English education. I actually do have a corduroy jacket that I got when I graduated, and the idea was to add the leather patches, and then if I ever got a professorship or something in a college, I was going to get like gold stitching around. That was my plan. And then I discovered how horrible of an idea it is to be a teacher in the year of our Lord 2024, or really any time after I graduated in 2010. So
I was going to say,
yeah, it's just, it was not great. And now I'm making way more money, and I can do things like this podcast. So Rec Conversations is my college class. So thanks for auditing. So the things that you need to know. This story takes place after the Tom King run of Batman, which we will this season get into the Bruce Wayne, Selina Kyle wedding graphic novel of that. After that wedding, there is a story event called City of Bane. And while I haven't read all of it, I've gotten some of the highlights. It's basically like Bane's big move on Batman. In this, Bane kills Alfred Pennyworth. He kills Bruce's butler, his closest confidant, basically the father of Bruce. This is where we go to with Nightwing. Nightwing was involved in the whole City of Bane Batman stuff. Somewhere in there, he got shot in the head and had amnesia. This is after all of that. And so that is where we come into where we're going to begin, which is Nightwing number 78. This is the beginning. It was a new writer. They had Tom Taylor, new artist of Bruno Redondo. So this was kind of a soft relaunch, but they didn't renumber because DC waits until they destroy their entire universe and restart it before they restart numbers. But when we go through this is going to be Nightwing number 78. They are currently, let's see, last week, Nightwing 112 came out. So this is fairly recently, but there are plenty of books after this. So if you are interested, check this out because it's a really fun book. So we begin. The scene opens up with Dick Greyson and Barbara Gordon as children. Dick has like a voiceover of this in like word bubbles where he says he doesn't like bullies. He's never liked bullies. This scene takes place shortly after his parents were killed. And so he is living with Bruce, but he's also going to school, and he goes to school with Babs. Babs is basically standing up to a group of like 4 bullies, who are picking on a nameless nerd, kid. Basically, the leader of these bullies is he's given a name, but he's basically white privilege in a character. He's like, the phrase "Do you know who my dad is?" actually is on the page, like at one point. So yeah, so Babs goes up, and basically the guys are like, "Well, we won't hit a girl, haha." And then Dick shows up and is basically like, "I'm gonna give you one chance to just stop picking on this kid," and they don't. Of course. First Dick is like, "I want to point out to you that there are 4 of you, and there's this one kid. First of all, that's fucking cowardly. Like, you guys are punks." They start a fight with Dick. Dick knocks out some of this dude's teeth. And the guy's like, "Do you know who my dad is? I mean, the cops will come and get you," and blah, blah, blah. And Babs is like, "You think they're going to believe you over me?" And that's when, like, you see Commissioner Gordon walking up behind her. And then the kid's name is Sheldon. He gets arrested. And Dick is taken home in a police car. And he's talking the whole time about how he was supposed to, like, not be bringing attention to himself. Dick is Robin during this time period. So, like, Bruce's number 1 rule is, when you're Dick Greyson, don't have attention.
Yeah.
Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious.
Don't.
So Dick is like, Babs is blown away that he lives in a mansion and is like making comments like, "Do you have alligators in your moat?" And like shit like that. Dick isn't really paying attention to her because he's just worried what Bruce is gonna react. He doesn't have to, because Bruce isn't home, because Bruce is never home. Who is home is Alfred. And Alfred kind of walks out to the car, thanks Commissioner Gordon for bringing Dick home, brings him inside. Dick like starts doing the dishes, and Alfred's like, that's my job. And Dick's like, "Yep, and I will never get used to that. So you can dry if you want," but
yeah.
But they kind of have a talk about how Dick was supposed to act in public, and Dick's like, "Yeah, I'm really sorry. Like, I screwed up." And Alfred tells him that when he's not in costume and he's still protecting others, that's a different level of hero. And that he's very proud of him. So this is like establishing the father figure that Alfred was to Dick, because as we all know, for anyone that's ever read a Batman comic, Bruce Wayne keeps adopting kids and is a horrible fucking father.
Yeah.
So thankfully, we have Alfred to actually step in and save all these children from a billionaire's trauma. So we cut to today, and there are 4 frat boy assholes chasing and kicking a puppy.
The fuck?
Yeah. Immediately, I'm like, Nightwing doesn't kill people, but I really just want John Wick.
Yeah.
Step onto this page.
I knew that scene was going to immediately reel you in, by the way.
Yeah. I'm like, "Oh, kill him, Dick."
Yeah.
Nightwing stops them and basically is like, "What kind of fun is this? Like, you guys are monsters." And one of them's like, "Well, I guess the fun's over." It pulls out a gun and goes to shoot the puppy. So Nightwing beats the shit out of all of them. My note here says Nightwing beats them all up and unfortunately doesn't kill every single one of them, and then start a 4-part series when never mind. But Dick
This is in costume Nightwing.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes. I'm going to try and say Nightwing when Dick is in costume and Dick when he's Dick Greyson, because this actual this comic does a lot of both.
Okay.
Which is great.
Yeah.
So Dick or Nightwing reaches out to the puppy to like pick it up, and the puppy bites him. And he's like, "Well, that tracks. Like, I've been where you are, pup." So he picks up the dog and takes the dog to the vet, and then he goes to the doctor. There's another scene where someone named Mr. Desmond is meeting with the police commissioner McLean, councilwoman Zucco, and the mayor under a bridge. The voiceover from Dick basically says this is Blockbuster. This guy's a direct ripoff of Kingpin.
Like I was the minute that I saw him, I was like, oh, it's just Kingpin. That's
Yeah, big guy, white suit, like bald. Bald. Exactly. Yeah, I mean, such a ripoff of Kingpin.
Like it literally is like I run the city. I'm a big criminal. Like
yeah.
This is DC created character after Kingpin's existence already in the Marvel. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Which Marvel and DC do a lot, and we've talked about it on this show.
For sure.
So the Blockbuster basically looks at the mayor in front of this councilwoman and the police commissioner and is like, my rackets are stagnating. Like the profits are not going up. Which I can tell you, being a supply chain person, that's actually kind of what you want. They can't go up forever. But he kills the mayor by just reaching out and squishing his head, and looks at Councilwoman Zucco and is like, okay, well, you're the mayor now. Congratulations. He also reveals that this councilwoman is the daughter of Tony Zucco, who is the mobster that killed Dick Greyson's parents. It was not, in fact, Tommy Lee Jones. As
I love that part.
I do too.
Are there still plastic nipples in the storyline? Oh, that's the.
I mean, not on his costume. There's also no.
You can't see what's going on underneath the costume.
Right. This is Val Kilmer. Right. This is Val Kilmer, not George Clooney.
Yeah.
So we go back to Dick, who's coming home with the dog too. He basically lets us know that he owns an apartment building because when he had, and he basically calls it Bruce Wayne money. Like when he had Wayne money, he bought an apartment complex in Bludhaven. His money situation has since dried up. So he's trying to figure out a situation where he doesn't have to raise rent on people, and be a good landlord. Dick Greyson is possibly the only good landlord. And it takes a real hero. But he realizes that someone's in his apartment. So he changes into Nightwing somewhere, leaves the dog on the fire escape in like a kennel, and goes inside of his apartment and, to check out what's going on, where he is quickly like flipped and thrown against the wall by Barbara Gordon. Babs is in his apartment and is basically like, I don't know what you were expecting. Like, you gotcha. Like, Nala from Lion King, like, pinch again. So while she's like admonishing him for his lax security, when he's like, yeah, that's actually a really expensive security system, she's like, not for me. So if not for me, then not for supervillains. The dog starts barking, and Babs is like, is that a dog? And he brings it in. And Babs, of course, like instantly falls in love with this puppy and asks the dog's name. And Dick says, oh, she doesn't have a name. The owner's like, I'm going to take her to the pound tomorrow, and when somebody adopts her, they'll give her a name. And Babs points out that that's not his style. The second this dog came in to Dick's apartment, it found its forever home. He is a fur parent now. Right. As an owner of a wonderful dog, Percy, I know that you feel this.
I keep waiting for him to bark in the background, to be honest. But yeah.
That's all right. I'll leave it in. Percy can talk about Nightwing too. So he asks why she's here, and she says, well, as Oracle, I'm the executor of Alfred's estate. And you weren't at the will reading. And he's like, yeah, I was doing something. And so she's like, sit down. This is going to be heavy. And she shows him on a laptop the billions of dollars that Dick has now inherited from Alfred, and a letter. And I thought about summarizing the letter, but it's so good that it's only one a double page panel that I'm just going to read it.
Yeah.
Master Grayson, please don't be alarmed. I didn't foresee my own death. Given our line of work, I write one of these every year. It seems prudent. I'm sure the fortune I'm leaving you comes as something of a shock. As Master Wayne's legal guardian, I was given a large amount of Wayne Industries stock. I was also given a ludicrous amount of wealth I had no need for. I invested much of this wisely and ethically and had planned to find a place where it would do the most good. In fact, I planned to come to you for advice. Like Bruce, your mind is astonishing. You can think in ways no one else can. You are a problem solver and the world is full of problems. I couldn't think of better hands to leave this fortune in. I believe you will see this not as personal gain, but as an opportunity, because I believe in Dick Greyson. I believe in the boy who always stepped up when someone was in need. I believe in the man who just wants to help. Without wanting to apply too much pressure, I believe you can be one of the greatest forces for good this world has ever seen. Whatever you choose to do, please know I am exceedingly proud of you. Proud of your heart, proud of your compassion, proud of your humor, your optimism, and your strength in the face of everything that confronts you. And above all, though we rarely say it out loud, I am so very proud to call you my son. Just a fucking wish of a, and this is by far not the last one in this graphic novel.
Yeah.
But this also establishes the idea of the world is full of problems and Dick is a problem solver. That is going to be the theme of this graphic novel.
Yeah.
Nice.
We move to Mayor Zucco coming home to her wife, girlfriend. It's never really stated. And basically tells her, yep, I'm the mayor now. Mayor's dead, so I'm the mayor. And her significant other asks about, okay, but what about Dick Greyson? And she's like, I'm not ready for Dick Greyson yet. And you see that in her apartment, she has a Flying Grayson's poster with his face circled. So that is the end of issue 1.
That's some foreshadowing shit right there.
It is. We move on to issue 2, which starts with a splash page, which is pretty awesome. Let me bring it up so I want to make sure that I'm not missing anything. It's Dick like jumping off of a building, but like on the top of the building, it's him as a Flying Grayson, then him as Robin, then him in like various outfits.
Yeah, like all the phases of his character. It's really excellent artwork. I need to stress, like, I was actually sending for the podcast Adam Witt just like photos, like screenshots of different panels with just like exclamation points and stuff. Like it's really good.
Nice. No, this team knows the assignment, knows the character, and I don't think I've ever seen Dick Greyson put to page like this. It's so awesome.
Yeah.
But then it kind of goes to his parents, who his parents are always talking about, we'll catch you if you fall. Then it goes to his father, which he says, my father, which is Bruce, who is picking him up after he has knocked him down. And he's like, are you just going to knock me down again? And Bruce is like, it depends on how fast you learn. And then he says, my other father, which is Alfred, it's Alfred trying to basically coax Dick to come back inside after him and Bruce have had a fight. My friends, which is him with the Titans. And then it ends with and my brothers, and it shows Tim Drake, Red Hood, and Damian.
Okay.
So the other Robins, which we will establish very quickly, they do all the Bat family outside of Bruce acts very much like a family. They will defend each other. They, as we will find out, they have a group chat, which we'll get into because it's fucking hilarious. They very much act like a family. Like when the group chat comes up or when they're talking to other members of the Bat family, it reminds me of just how my brother, sister, and I talk.
Is it like the memes that people read, like the superhero conversation memes on Facebook?
Yes, a lot like that, actually.
Very similar.
Yep. And it ends with him saying, and someone who makes us feel safe. And that's where they go to present day. Babs is sitting on the floor with the puppy who has fallen asleep because they finally fed the dog. And then they realize that they haven't eaten. So they go, Dick's like, oh, I know a place. So they go out, they go to this like corner store pizza place. And Dick is like, 2 slices, please. And Babs is like, seriously? You know you're a billionaire now with a buh. And he's like, yeah, you're right. 4 slices, please. They talk a little bit about how he was shot in the head and he has amnesia. But he said when he came out of that and realized who he was, he realized he doesn't have a legacy. Like, he's like, I did a lot of good as Nightwing, but as Dick Greyson, who's gonna know like what I did when I'm gone? And he also always thought about what he would do if he had Bruce's resources. Which is kind of the joke now on the internet of, like Mr. Frost, all he wanted was to save his wife, and Bruce easily could have just funded a fucking project.
Yeah.
And
Right.
gotten a villain off the streets. But while they're talking, 2 homeless people, a guy and his son, walk up and ask for change, and they're both like, I'm sorry, we just don't carry cash. The guy's like, I get it. Not many people do. And they turn around, they're starting to walk away, and Dick is like, actually, hold on. Come with me and call anyone and tell them, we're going to feed them. And he basically goes back to the pizza place and just is like, yep, run my credit card. Just keep them coming. Whoever wants whatever. It's like there's a large group of people. Like, these kids are like, hey, can we take some of these with us? And Dick's like, yes, absolutely. And he's talking to
they only staffed 2 people that night, but
right. Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully he tips very well.
Yeah.
But the guy, the original homeless man with the child, his name is Martin, and Dick is talking to him and basically says, I'm going to put you up at the Bludhaven 4 Seasons. I'm going to pay for it for a month, and then we'll figure out from there, where you're going to go. And then he finds out that the kids that asked him if they could take the pizza stole his wallet.
damn.
He looks over at Babs and he's like, do not tell anyone about this. She's like, too late, already put it on the group chat. And
Yeah,
there's just ding, 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 ding. As all the Bat family is freaking out over, Dick getting his wallet stolen. Martin and his son, we see them walking down an alleyway and they're heading for the hotel. When they're stopped by a shadowy figure, Martin sends his son away, and the shadowy figure basically murders Martin by using some device to pull his heart out of his chest.
That's some Temple of Doom shit.
Yep. Dick and Babs go back to his place so he can suit up and follow the tracker that's in his wallet. It's revealed that Babs has technology in her spine that's allowing her to walk and move around, but she's like, I'm not going to test the limits of that in crime fighting, but I'll basically oracle from your apartment. And she puts a little camera in his mask so that she can see what he sees. Dick hits the rooftops, or Nightwing hits the rooftops and arrives just as the kids are about to steal Boss Maroney's wallet. So Boss Maroney is the gangster boss of Bludhaven, works with Blockbuster. And Dick's like, please don't steal the mobster's wallet. The mobster will kill you.
Right.
And this mobster is there to meet with the new mayor, Mayor Zucco. And basically, while Dick's watching, the kids do steal the mobster's wallet. The mobsters do notice and give chase to the kids. So Dick kind of drops down, beats up the mobsters. Babs is like, okay, well, they were going to kill kids, so let's call the police on them. And Dick's like, yeah, you don't know how Bludhaven works? That will do nothing.
Yeah.
They will walk. And Babs like, well, I'm going to do it anyway. And Dick's in his mind, he's like, okay, well, she's got to learn, eventually that this is not Gotham. Gotham's bad. Bludhaven's worse.
Yeah.
So Dick catches up to his wallet, and he finds an entire community of homeless kids, hundreds of homeless kids. And when he Nightwing, because he's Nightwing now, as he approaches, they ask him if he's the man without a heart and if he's going to hurt them. This kind of hits him, really hard. And he's like, you know what? Keep the wallet, and he leaves. He gets home and he tells Babs that he knows what he's going to do with the money. He's going to help people in Bludhaven who have fallen down, which again goes with the whole theme of all of these people, these father figures that have helped him up when he's fallen down. That's what he's going to do for the homeless community in Bludhaven. That's the end of issue 2. Issue 3. Did you have something?
No, I just said nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Dick wakes up to the dog barking at the door. The police are there and would like a word because he reported his wallet was stolen. He canceled his credit cards, but there was a charge to his credit cards at the 4 Seasons.
The 3 seasons.
To which the guy never showed up and, in fact, was found murdered in an alley. So now Dick Greyson is a suspect in Martin's murder. Dick calls Babs and basically is like, hey, are you back at Gotham? She's like, I'm at like the end of your block. He's like, good, I need you to come back. I'm being accused of murder and you're my alibi.
Friends do. Right.
Yes. The police don't just accuse Dick of this murder, but in fact splay out like all of these pictures. There have been several murders, all in the same way, hearts being removed from the chest. All of them are homeless people, and they're basically like, you're our only link. Babs shows up and is basically like, I'm his alibi. I was with him all night. I will give you the last 24 hours of the GPS on my phone if you like, but that should, prove that Dick had nothing to do with this. The police ask what the nature of their relationship is, and Dick is like, I've been working on asking that, but I don't think an interrogation is the right way to go about it. They both, and then that's when Babs is like, okay, just so you know, we both have law degrees. You have nothing. He has an alibi. And so if you were to continue to like pressure him or somehow implicate him in this murder, it's a really bad move for you. We're more than willing to help you, but you're going about this the wrong way. And the detectives are like, leave. They're like, you got us dead to rights. So Dick is going to go as Nightwing and go look for the kid. Babs is going to check hospitals and shelters. But also in her glasses, she has one of those cameras that she had on Dick's mask. So she recorded the entire conversation with the cops and made sure to get footage of the pictures so that she can look into who the other victims were.
Yeah.
As Dick is getting ready, he says if the kid is where he thinks he is, he's going to have to call in his brother. And this is when Tim Drake meets up with Dick. They're both in costume, so Robin and Nightwing. But Tim brings Dick a gift. It's a wallet chain. He'll never lose his wallet again. And as an added bonus, he can front a soft metal band in the early 2000s. I love Tim Drake.
Lost it when I saw that. I was like in near tears. I was like, first of all, how dare you? Second of all,
perfection
goes to go along with it.
Thank you. Right.
So Dick fills Tim in on everything that's going on, but he says he doesn't need Robin. He needs Tim because Tim's a child or a teenager to infiltrate basically the homeless camp. Which Tim and take the dog because the dog needs a walk.
Yeah.
And he also says because people intrinsically trust people with dogs, and Babs is like, well, that's just science.
Yeah.
Really, just I'm glossing over a lot of the dialogue in this, but it is fucking stellar. Like
this comic is very funny, which I enjoy a great deal.
Yes.
Yeah, like it sounds like it's a nice balance of like there's obviously some heavier notes along with that comedic.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just it just keeps it light, which I really enjoy. Like, yes, this is a serious comic book and there's serious topics, but we're also gonna make fun of people who wear wallet chains. So
yeah,
rightfully so. I mean, to be fair.
Yeah. Well, and also Dick is like, I'm never going to live this down, am I? And Tim's like, dude, no. Like, the whole family knows, so
everybody knows.
Yeah.
And at your funeral, we'll talk about this moment. Like, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So Tim brings the dog to the homeless, like, tent city that these kids have. And he finds the kid whose name is Elliot, spends, like, an hour with them, makes friends with them. But he finds out a lot of these kids are there because they've lost their parents to the guy that takes hearts. And they call him the man without a heart. And then Dick, who is, or as Nightwing, is watching like from a nearby rooftop and is like, Tim, you're going to want to suit up. There are a couple of supervillains coming this way. So the two supervillains are Brutal and the Electrocutioner.
Great names. Great names.
Yes, which I'm guessing are D-level DC villains.
Yeah.
Especially since they hench for Blockbuster.
Yeah.
And they're basically there to rough up the kids and threaten them because they've been stealing things and Blockbuster hasn't gotten his cut. Robin and Nightwing beat the shit out of the both of them and like the whole time mocking them for being so low level that they're going and like shaking down children. They're like, do you really feel good about yourself? I realize you're a supervillain, but have you taken a good look at your life?
Like, this is just embarrassing, bro.
Yeah. Like, and yeah, they're like, this is embarrassing for you. It's embarrassing for us. Like, it's just, and Dick basically says, tell Blockbuster, these kids, this place is under my protection. They then realize that the tent city is on fire. They at first think that it was the goons that did it, but find out very quickly it was not, because standing in the middle of all the flames is the man without a heart, who they call Heartless. And that is where issue 3 ends. Issue 4 begins with Melinda Zucco is getting sworn in as Bludhaven's mayor. She's taken directly from like the podium with all of the media into a side room where Blockbuster and all of the criminals of Bludhaven are basically waiting. And they're like, as she's walking in, they're like, would you like champagne? Would you like a suitcase full of money?
Yeah, literally. Like, just a suitcase full of money. Like, that's exactly how he presents it. Like, suitcase full of money. Like, it's a party favor.
Yeah. And I love this. She goes, I don't really use cash. Can you maybe put that in a bank account for me? And he's like, well, see,
around with the help.
Yeah. And this random mobster's like, well, you know, it's kind of like the presentation of the thing.
Right?
And then Blockbuster's like, we'll put it in an account for you. But Blockbuster asks her, now that she's mayor, what are her plans? And she says her plans are to make them all wealthy. We get, yeah.
Out of curiosity, like, is there any investigation into the prior mayor's head being just like squished like a grape, or that's just normal and we'll move on with?
That's just totally normal from Bludhaven, is the impression that I'm getting. It's just like, oops, an unfortunate accident has befallen the mayor. Anyways, moving on.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
A hand-shaped piano fell on his head.
Yeah.
So Dick and Heartless, Nightwing and Heartless fight, and Nightwing ascertains that Heartless is an enhanced human, so he has powers, but he's not trained. So Dick, in his mind, basically calls it the cheap way, the shortcut way of getting powers. Heartless blows up the pier where all the kids have run to, which is right next to the city. So now there's like a burning pier that these kids cannot get off of. There's like hundreds of kids on this pier. Heartless uses that chance to run away, to escape. And Dick, not having many options, basically puts out an SOS on the local like ship channels, basically saying, hey, there are kids on this burning pier. I need anybody to help. And Tim Drake is like, yeah, like anybody in Bludhaven is going to help another person. They get a lot of response. Basically, all of the ships in the harbor come and help and help rescue the kids. So once the kids are safe, Dick passes out. He wakes up in his bed. Tim has gotten him out of there, and he's in his apartment with Babs and Tim. And he's like, oh, I wonder why I passed out. And Babs is like, because you're recovering from head trauma and you got punched in the head by a supervillain with super strength. And he's like, oh yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah.
Tim has also named the dog. He has named her Bitewing.
Nice.
Which is great.
Nice.
Which is great. And Dick says, well, that's a great name. The dog's name is Haley. He has named the dog Haley. And they have a very quick talk about, oh, yeah, like nobody in this family has multiple names or anything.
Right.
To which Babs is like, I have 3. So Babs and Tim point out that he has a concussion. But his first like instinct, once Babs kind of fills him in, by the way, found out who that person that the mobster was having, the meeting with, and that's our new mayor, who is the daughter of the person that killed your parents. And here's her FBI file. It is heavily redacted. And
Yeah.
it's like, well, I mean, very few good people have a giant FBI file that's mostly redacted. So I'm going to go and have a talk with this new mayor. And Babs is like, right. So concussion?
Yeah.
And Tim is like, yeah, you're supposed to be smarter than Bruce. To which Dick's like, fine, and tries to sleep, but he can't because, the daughter of the man who killed his parents is now the mayor of his city. So he Nightwings up and goes out. And as he's entering Melinda's apartment, Babs kind of comes up on his comms and reminds him that he's still wearing a camera in his mask so she can see that he's not he's
not at home resting.
Yeah, he's not at home resting. So as he comes in the window, Melinda's significant other attacks him with a sword, which he dodges but falls downstairs. And Melinda comes out of a doorway with a baseball bat and smashes him in the head and knocks him out. He wakes up tied to a chair and without his mask. So the new mayor sees that he is Dick Greyson. Dick breaks out of the chair and basically is like, yes, I know, because she's like, oh my God, you're Dick Greyson. He's like, and I know who you are. You're the daughter of the man who killed my parents. And she's like, yeah, I thought that too for a long time. But then I found out that my father was really John Greyson. I'm your sister.
Oh shit. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, like that was really one of the jaw-dropping moments for me in this. I was like, what? Needle scratch?
Yeah.
So you're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation.
Right.
Yeah. So was raised by the person that killed their parents.
Yes, we're going to get into that.
Under that idea.
Like,
okay.
There has been discussion about how this guy left her mother when she was 8, and then she was raised by the mob. So that's issue 4 ending. The beginning of issue 5, and issue 5 is mostly going to be the background here. Dick has the presence of mind to put on his mask because he's basically like, I need my mask, give me my mask back. And Melinda's like, well, I mean, your secret identity now. Yeah. He's like, no, I don't think you understand. So she gives him the mask, he puts it on, he's like, Oracle, I'm fine. Whatever backup you have sent, you can pull them away now. And she's like, are you sure? He's like, yes. And that's when you find out that Babs had, once she couldn't hear from Dick, had sent all of the Titans and Batman, who are like on their way to random apartment building. So he like looks at Melinda. He's like, okay, your apartment building is not about to be swarmed with superheroes. So let's talk. And she's like, actually, change into normal clothes because I'm going to go and introduce you to somebody that will explain all of it a lot better. He does, and she introduces him to her mother.
Where does he get normal clothes? This is not just like specific to Nightwing, but this is just a common theme throughout all comics. Like where do they store the backup clothes to just magically be back in normal clothes? Or are they wearing them always under the suit?
It has perpetually been a mystery to me as well, and I don't know. I don't know. I wish I knew.
Yeah. Because like when you think about it, the most iconic, especially Superman, and well, Superman's an easy one because he can move so fast, and Flash, same thing. But like the iconic, like taking off your clothes to show that you're wearing the costume underneath, but are you wearing another set of normal clothes under that? And then you have another costume under that for next time.
And the amount of sweat that you assume happens underneath of like one of those superhero suits. If you had normal clothes, you would just be like drenched.
Also, too, like there would come a point in your layering that you would end up just looking like Maggie Simpson in her snowsuit. He would just be vaguely starved.
Like it's true. Christmas Story, it can't move his arms. Yeah.
Widow guys.
Yeah. I do like the idea of the Russian nesting costumes, though. That's great.
Let's go with that.
So her mother, her name is Meili Lin. She was 23, and basically Tony Zucco mail ordered her. She was a mail order bride. And he was, unsurprisingly, a fucking dick to her, and she hated her life. So one night he took her to the circus, and she ran away and ran into John and Mary Greyson, who protected her. And actually, he like Zucco pulls a gun on them. They beat the crap out of him, like embarrass him, and then all the other circus folk kind of come out, and they're like, "Hi, you're not welcome here." So Meili joins the circus for a while. It's specifically said that John and Mary aren't romantically involved yet. John apparently puts Mary on like this pedestal, and just doesn't have, he doesn't nut up. So him and Meili date very briefly, just long enough for her to get pregnant, him not to know, and then shortly after that, Zucco's men come and kidnap her and take her back. 6 months later, she has Melinda. So Zucco, like, it's implied that he knows, but never, like, his pride will never let him publicly say that, his wife had this other man's child.
Right.
Years later, she leaves Zucco again, but this time he doesn't care. He's moved on, so he allows her to just leave, and she goes,
like, she's older, and like he's Leo DiCaprio, and he's just gonna find a replacement.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So she goes and finds the circus again to introduce Melinda to her father, but as she kind of is walking into the tent, she sees John and Mary are together, and they have Dick now, and they are a very happy family, and she doesn't want to break up a happy family with her trauma, and so she leaves. She meant to go back later, when Melinda was a little older and Dick was a little older, but Zucco killed John and Mary because he never forgot, their what they had done to him, that they had embarrassed him. So that is the story. The reunion is broken up by large pounding on the door because SWAT is at Melinda's door along with Blockbuster. And that is the end of issue 5. It is short, but I have done a very cursory story. It's beautifully illustrated and told. Like the idea of Dick Greyson having a sister that none of us have ever heard of, and it being kind of retconned in. I have seen much worse retcons. This actually makes sense. It keeps John, so Dick doesn't hate his father.
Yeah, there's resentment, like he cheated on it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So the beginning of issue 6, Dick basically confronts Melinda while the cops are banging on the door about her FBI file because she knows who he is. It's a problem. And he's like, your file was heavily redacted. She's like, yeah, that's because I'm an FBI informant. I have actually from the inside taken down 2 crime bosses, and I'm in the process of doing that with Blockbuster too. And he's like, oh, okay. Well, that changes things. Yeah. The police call out for Nightwing. So that's how Dick knows why they're here. They must have been watching the building and saw him coming in through the window. So that gives Dick an idea. He quickly ties Melinda and her significant other to chairs and leaves out the window so that he can keep Melinda's cover.
Right.
Blockbuster and the police do give chase. Blockbuster and Dick fight. Dick takes out a helicopter with the power of parkour. Really, you have to watch it to understand.
It's incredible.
And in fact, doesn't just take it out, takes the helicopter.
Yeah.
No explanation for how Dick knows how to fly a helicopter, but I imagine it has a lot to... It can't be that different than the Batwing.
I was going to say,
he's got...
The man has hung around Batman. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, it's true. So he gets home, and coming into the window, of course, he passes out because head trauma. Babs puts him to bed, and he sleeps for 2 days. When he wakes up, he starts the work what he calls the work of Dick Greyson, not Nightwing. He goes and meets with a lot of people who he trusts on what he's going to do with the money. He meets with people at free clinics. He meets with the Titans. He meets Lucius at Wayne Tech to talk about investment and how to work with the money, which is awesome because it's showing Dick is using the resources he has. And then he says, and finally, I talked to a friend that I trust, and he goes and talks to Superman. It is no secret on this show, generally, what Leia and I think of typically of Superman. But in this is such a great fucking scene. From the beginning, I noticed that even when he says a friend and you see Superman on page, very rarely is it done correctly, because when you see Superman in something that's not a Superman comic, like, it should give you this awe.
Yeah.
This, like, goosebumps should come up when you're like, oh, man, you know, you're talking to a literal god, right?
Right.
This does that correctly. Because he comes to him and he's like, I have some ideas for what I'm going to do with this money, but I want your perspective. And Superman says, oh, as an alien?
Yeah.
And Dick says, no, from being one of the most human people I know, which is just such a great interpretation of their friendship. Because he talks about how Superman gave him the name Nightwing when he and Bruce had a falling out. So, and Superman's also like, well, have you talked to Bruce? And Dick's like, no. You know, he'll either try to talk me out of it, or, you know, his way is the right way, and blah, blah, blah. And he's like,
man who has fearlessly stood up to Darkseid, Bruce will do a lot to avoid a conversation.
yes.
Yes.
Oh, man, I need these to stay in my ears. So Dick's like, Alfred left me a lot of money. I don't think there's anything heroic about being a billionaire.
Yeah.
That's pretty obvious.
Yeah. It's so good. And Superman was like, I'm sorry about Alfred. I looked up to him greatly. And Dick's like, Superman looked up to Alfred Pennyworth? And Superman says, of course, the world would have been lost without the heroes he raised, without his generosity, his love, his support. You're a lot like him. And Dick's like, oh, thank you. And Superman's like, tell me what your idea is. Let's talk about it.
Did he like put his hand on his knee and like was it over? Like, you got leaned in when you were like, let's talk about it.
Yeah, well, I'm being Superman there.
Okay.
Yes. So Dick tells Superman his plans for the funds, and we don't see what it is. Like, they have the conversation off panel. Superman says it's a very focused and smart plan, and Dick's like, I'm just worried that it's too small. And Superman says, but while it's small, his efforts will count when it comes to inspiring others. That's all he can do. There's not enough money in the world to fix all problems himself. So basically, you got to get the ball rolling. Again, this is how I want Superman written. This is how I want him to come across.
Yeah.
The more Superman leans into inspiring people instead of just lol, Superman wins, you know, the better off we all are, and the more I like that character.
Yes, 100%. It harkens to the Tom King book that I love so much. That Superman should be inspiring.
Yes.
Yeah.
So finally, Superman says, okay, well, I have one more favor to ask of you. I may have to go off planet for a while. My son is going to take over for me, John. While I'm gone, can you meet up with him and just give him guidance if he needs it? Like, just be a friend to him? And Dick's like, absolutely. And Superman says, there is no one I would rather ask to do this. Again, just so well written. So the next day, the media is swarming Dick's apartment, and he's there because he's there to make an announcement. Word has been leaked that he's inherited billions of dollars. And so he's talking with Babs, and he's like, hey, before I go out there, I do want to really thank you, because you've been kind of the guiding light for this. Your friendship means more to me, than anything. And she gives him a kiss and says, "Go get them, Boy Wonder." Which again, the playful Bat family shit is so good. Dick goes outside and says he's become a billionaire, but he's giving it away to help people, starting with the homeless in Bludhaven. One of the members of the media is like, there's so many, homelessness is systemic and it comes from so many other problems. So why are you starting here with the homelessness instead of the background reasons? And Dick says that's really easy to answer. It's because it's getting colder outside. So putting them in homes is step one. He gives an awesome inspirational speech, which I'm not going to read because I'm going to encourage people to read it. It really, the artwork plus the speech really works well together. But you do see that his speech absolutely pisses off every single criminal in the city. And at the end, he announces the Alfred Pennyworth Foundation is what he's naming everything. The group chat goes nuts with all the Bat family, congratulating him. And he even gets a phone call from Bruce. And Bruce says he honored Alfred today, and Bruce actually thanks him.
Yeah, it's wild.
The rarity. Wow.
Yes. Yep. Meanwhile, in an apartment somewhere that apparently has no furniture and just a television, Heartless.
Every single guy's apartment.
I was going to say, that was mine through probably a good 27, 28 years of age. Yeah.
Did you have a wall full of hearts in jars?
No, I didn't.
Because this guy does.
He's in a bad futon.
Yeah. He's talking to someone else that's unnamed, and Heartless basically says Dick Greyson made him who he is today, but Dick Greyson's plans directly interfere with his, and so he'll have to take his heart before he gives it to the city. And that is the end of that issue. Like I said, we're only 6 issues into a series, but that's the end of this graphic novel. What'd you think?
I thought it was great. I want to actually get out and read more DC. As a kid, I pretty much just read Detective Comics and Batman, and that was it as far as DC.
Sure.
So knowing that there's better, less boring storylines than a lot of what I read as a kid, that in itself is intriguing. But the humanizing Superman and the whole message from Alfred and all of that, that sounds like fantastic writing. That's something that I want to pick up. I want to read comics not just to educate myself on a storyline so that the next comic that comes out I'm up to date on. I want something that's actually inspiring to read and kind of keeps you hooked all the way through. And this sounds like it would definitely fit that bill. So
yeah, this was a lot of fun to read, 100% fun. I was just delighted to get into it. Sometimes, as I'm sure anybody who listens to this podcast regularly knows, sometimes it is a struggle where I have to physically force myself to read some of these books. I did not have to do that here. It was enjoyable, and when it was one of those books where when it ended, issue 6 concludes, and I was like, oh, but I wanted more of that. So, and then I was like, oh, but there is so much more. So that's I actually may continue to read this series. It's fun.
Yeah, it is, and the way that Tom Taylor puts his own spin on, basically he picks up what Tom King laid down in Batman. Because Tom King, again, another phenomenal writer that we praise on this podcast.
We stand.
Yeah, we stand. We've done episodes on Mr. Miracle and The Human Target, which he has done for DC, and both are phenomenal.
Did we do Up in the Sky, or do I just talk about it a lot? I truly cannot remember.
Talk about it a lot.
Okay. We should definitely do Up in the Sky, but I can't present on that one because I will just cry the entire time. It is incredible.
Okay. Good to know. Just a fun, this is why I read comics, is for comics like this.
Yeah.
Love it. Like I said, several other graphic novels after this. If you want to start with this, then issue number 78, or in trades, I will find out the name of it because I am blanking right now.
Does DC offer us, I'm assuming they do, like Marvel Unlimited type of service? Because otherwise, like, this is a small fortune to invest in reading DC comics. Yeah.
Or support your local library.
Yes, we encourage local library use. I don't know, like, I can't speak to anywhere else, but I can tell you right now that even here in the near south side of Chicago, we have a robust and delightful library system that has just about every comic book you could ask for and ones you didn't even think to ask for. So support your local libraries today.
Cedar Rapids actually has a fairly good graphic novel section as well. Okay. This particular graphic novel is called Leaping into the Light.
Okay.
And like I said, it's volume 1 of, I think they're up to 7 graphic novels now. Very, very well done.
Yes.
Yeah. So how did we do explaining?
That was really good, actually. Much like I feel like had I been reading the comic book along with it, like I like you kept me hooked with like wanting to know what was going to happen next, and even like the plot twist with it being his sister and like things like the way that you presented that was still a good like, oh shit, like that didn't expect that at all. So yeah, it was actually a lot of fun. I'm definitely going to go check this out. I don't know if they'll have this one at the library, but if they do, I might even do that this afternoon. I've got an hour before the Iowa game starts. So,
there you go.
There you go. Oh, I loved it. I love to hear it. Love to hear it. Yeah, they very well might. Again, like, I live on the near south side of Chicago, and I live in a community. My community is low income and whatever. But it is actually shocking to see when we visit local libraries around here how much they have in terms just in graphic novels.
Yeah.
They've got a really robust selection that would be surprising. So I wouldn't be at all surprised that they would have something similar out by you, for sure.
For sure.
Cool. Well, Josh, thank you for joining us today. Thanks for
having me.
Absolutely. Everyone else, please tune in next time when Leia will be explaining Age of Ultron.
Ooh.
It's got to be better than the movie, right?
It can't. I would say it can be worse. I don't know.
That's true. Yeah, maybe worse in a different way. I know it doesn't follow the comic, beat for beat by any stretch of the imagination. So who knows? And I've never, admittedly, read the comic in full. So maybe I'll be delightfully surprised. I just don't think I will be.
Don't get your hopes up. Would be
right.
And one that I have read, like don't get your hopes up.
Cautiously optimistic is probably the best I could do.
If you can find it on tape and just have James Spader narrating it, then maybe it'll be fine.
Oh yeah,
I would like that. I would like that a lot. I love James Spader.
That was one redeeming quality of the Ultron movie.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Well, in the way that they created Vision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big fan of both of those.
Yeah.
All right. Well, until then, take it away, Vandello.
Little wreck conversation, some deep reactions, please. All this comics narration ain't elating me. A little more talk, a lot less read. A little fight, baby, is what I need. Close the trade, open up your brains. Explain it to me. Explain it to me, baby. Explain it to me. Explain it to me, baby. Explain it to me. Vandello 2021.